To welcome our co-chairs of today's events, TJ Ronningen and Amy Ross.
Thank you. On behalf of myself and my co-chair Amy, I'd like to officially welcome you to the second Out to Innovate Symposium. This is the world's only career summit for lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender students and professionals in science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and medicine. And it is our great pleasure to host this conference at one of the nation's foremost educational institutions in STEM fields, The Ohio State University.
Presented by the National Organization of Gay and Lesbian Scientists and Technical Professionals, or NOGLSTP with people with lesser lung capacity, Out to Innovate was first held at 2010 Visual Image at the University of Southern California. Through the success of that day, NOGLSTP recognized the importance of continuing Out to Innovate's mission by promoting the inclusion and celebration of LGBT individuals in the STEM fields, which of course brings us all here today.
Our presence in Columbus would not have been possible without the efforts of our host organization, OSTEM at Ohio State. So let's give them a round of applause. And I would like to give special thanks to Drs. Mary Juhas and Gary Allred at OSU for their vision in supporting Out to Innovate. And I'd also like to have a round of applause for our volunteer coordinator, Sterling Field, and all of the volunteers who have staffed the check-in and made this weekend possible. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. And also, TJ is a little bit modest about this, but we want to give particular acknowledgement to our lead sponsor on this, Battelle. So thank you so much for being our founding sponsor. Your leading gift has been instrumental in making this a reality. We could not have done it in a city other than Los Angeles without your support, so thank you so very much. Or you can come to LA if it gets too cold here. We would also like to acknowledge our official media sponsor, ScienceCareers.org at AAAS, our other event sponsors, the American Chemical Society Diversity Programs, eBay, I'm auctioning this after this is over, Genentech, IBM, Johnson & Johnson, Owens Corning, and Raytheon.
We'd also like to thank our event supporters, the American Chemical Society, Division of Professional Relations, the Clorox Company, the Dow Chemical Company, GE Aviation, Honda, the National Security Agency, Procter & Gamble, Texas Instruments, and the Ohio State University Office of Diversity and Inclusion.
And we would also like to recognize our event associates, Campus Pride, DiverseScholar.org, OSTEM, the Point Foundation, the Trevor Project, Spring Hill Suites, and the Holiday Inn Express and very generous individuals who've given out of their pocket to support the mission of Out to Innovate. Finally, I would be remiss if I didn't thank the tireless efforts, and I don't know if she's right around here, she's probably running around somewhere, but Marcy Reiterman and her staff at the Fawcett Center, who've done nothing short of being Olympic medalists in terms of their hospitality, flexibility, sprinting down hallways, and putting up with me. So Marcy and your staff, thank you so very much for your hospitality. We love you.
Now, to deliver a welcome address, we're honored to welcome the Associate Vice President for Gender Initiatives in Science, Technology, Engineering, Mathematics, and Medicine, Dr. Mary Juhas.
Good morning. I couldn't be more thrilled about this weekend's event. On behalf of Ohio State, I'd like to express our sincere thanks to NOGLSTP for presenting the Out to Innovate, and especially the NOGLSTP Chair, Rochelle Diamond, and their Board of Directors. Please, Shelley, stand up and take a bow. We're so very grateful to the Out to Innovate co-chairs, Amy Ross and TJ Ronningen. Give them another round of applause, gang. For their incredible vision and leadership. thanks again to our steadfast partner, Battelle, for being a founding sponsor. They've been with us every step of the way through a lot of things, and this is really special, especially to me. Thanks to Professor Gary Allred and the summit organizers who've attracted some amazing speakers. Gary, please stand up. He's one of my engineer buddies. So this morning's motivational speaker is Kei Koizumi, the Assistant Director for Federal Research and Development at the White House Office of Science and Technology Policy. Not yet.
In the wings.
In the wings. Our lunch keynote address will be given by Dr. Nergis Mivavala, MIT Professor of Astrophysics and the 2010 MacArthur Genius Grant recipient. Pretty amazing, huh? And finally, our sincere appreciation to OSTEM, the Ohio State, for hosting the summit and collaborating with NOGLSTP to bring this wonderful event to Ohio State. I want to just finish by telling you a very quick personal story while Kei is very patiently waiting in the wings. In 2005, I woke up one morning when I was Associate Dean for Diversity and Outreach at Engineering, and I looked in the mirror and I said, Juhas, you're kind of a hypocrite because you say that you advocate for women and minorities and persons with disabilities, but you're leaving out a whole segment of the population. What are you going to do about it? So I started thinking about it, and of course this was after I had many quiet conversations with members of the LGBT community. So I thought, you know, there's got to be a way to do this and do it in a way that's right. So I started kind of having more quiet discussions. And I talked to my sister. My sister works for Raytheon. She's an engineer, and she and her wife live in the Boston area. They have a little boy. And so she told me at the time she was a member of their GLBT affinity group. She was, I think she was secretary or treasurer. And she said, Raytheon's such a good company to work for. And I thought, okay. So we started having more discussions. And then I talked to my dean, the dean of engineering, and I said to him, I want to start some kind of an organization where we can, where all of the members of our student, faculty, and staff body can be who they are. And he said, well, you got to be careful and blah, blah, blah. And I wasn't getting anywhere. So I went across the street to the business dean, and I said to him, mentor me. You have Out for Business. You do all kinds of wonderful receptions for your community. You send people to the, it's some, Out and Equal. Well, Out and Equal, but there's one that's specific to MBAs. Does anybody? Thank you. And you cough up money and you send them there. How can we get there? And I said, because I want to have a rainbow flag outside of Hitchcock Hall, our engineering hall. And I said, I want this to be real. And he said, here's what you do. You start working with companies who hire your students and who give money to your college, who sit on your dean's advisory board, who have good GLBTA affinity groups. And I said, great, that sounds good. I said, because, you know, next year we're going to have a Big Ten summit here, and I'm going to invite all the other schools in the Big Ten. And he said, Mary, take it slow, take it slow. He said, take baby steps, one baby step at a time. And so here we are. Here we are. OSTEM was born about a year after that. It now has a name. We have T-shirts. It's real. It's a real thing. And forget the Big Ten thing. We brought the whole country here. So where are OSTEM people? Are they in the audience? Please. Sterling, please stand up.
Eric Patridge, who's president of the National.
Aha, okay. Eric, can you please stand, president of the National? Thanks so much. Thank you very much for making my dream come true, and have a great event.
Now, another speaker. It is my honor and privilege to introduce Rochelle, lovingly known as Shelley Diamond, to you. In addition to being a cherished member of the professional staff at Caltech for over 25 years, Shelley is one of the founding members of NOGLSTP and our current chair. Out to Innovate, as many of you know, is Shelley's brainchild. When she asked me a couple of years ago if she was crazy to try to get something like this together, I said, yeah, how can I help? And 2 years later, I'm still here. So here we are, a vision come true. but the vision was Shelley's. So Shelley, thank you so much for your never-ending idealism and leadership. So here she is for the encore performance of Out to Innovate 2012, our wizard, Shelley Diamond.
Thank you, Amy. She always gets me teared up. First of all, I want to thank Amy Ross, whose tireless efforts, we would not be here without her. I mean, she has held my hand through this whole thing and just been a true professional. And then TJ, who came on board after the first Out to Innovate. They make such a wonderful team. There were conference calls every week, just amazing communication, which is what this is all about. And I just can't thank them enough. I'd also like to thank my wife, Barbara Belmont, who's here. Barbara, where are you? Are you in here? She's probably working out there. But you know, she worked tirelessly on the back end of things before we got JP, who's the wizard in the booth. And he's our great event coordinator, and I have to thank all of them. And then, of course, Battelle, whose boots on the ground, and Ohio State, whose boots on the ground, allowed Amy and I to be able to stay in LA most of the time. So I have to thank all these people, and I have to thank you for being here, because without you, there is no Out to Innovate. All of the speakers and the students, we're here for you. This is about you. This is about coming together as a community. 30 years ago, a few gay and lesbian scientists met at an American Association for the Advancement of Science meeting, and they started a dialogue on issues and concerns in the workplace and in academia. We gather here today, albeit in a different time and place, to come together as a community in a significantly different way than that meeting. A coming together of students, faculty, staff, and career professionals for the 2012 Out to Innovate Summit. Science and technology, engineering and mathematics with pride. We are out and we are working and we are studying and we are a community. So I welcome all of you on behalf of NOGLSTP and my board of directors who supported this along the way. Thank you for joining us, and I think it's going to be a spectacular 2 days of sharing, mentoring, and participating in workshops, and also our Career Expo tomorrow. Don't miss that. But I wanted to just take a little bit of your time to discuss why we're here. What's so important about bringing us all together? Let me just take a minute. We're really living in pivotal times. Politics are polarizing. The economy has tanked. Our educational system is in contraction, at least in the state of California. I don't know what it is out here. And it's harder than ever to be a student, especially in science and engineering fields. In order for things to get better, and for us to regain our competitive edge in the global economy, we need to look at the realities. There's a need in this country, as Kei, I'm sure, is going to talk about, to increase the capacity of our technological pipeline. We need highly trained scientists and technicians, especially in research, design, and engineering fields. And it requires the students to become employees who have a college degree and skills in STEM. Now, all groups of students continue to drop out at an alarming rate. But women and ethnic minorities, youth, they drop out faster, and at each transition point in their educational arc. So too, there's an increasing body of evidence that shows the unique challenges that young LGBT individuals inclined toward STEM fields face. Some people actually at this conference are doing research on this, and I suggest that you see them on Sunday. They're going to be holding a special workshop. Many of the students, I'm sure some of you here, may be socially marginalized with your family or with your friends or in society in general because of your sexual orientation or your gender expression or identity. And people feel isolated with the pressure to succeed. Some students may choose not to stay in their career arcs because of this difficulty. And there's so few role models out there for science and technology and engineering. And that's important for us to be out there, to be as role models, to give you students a sense that your career is possible, that it's attainable, that you can feel comfortable in your career and your workplace choice. And yes, workplace is a choice. So we need to study that and decide what's comfortable for us so that we can be all that we can be. So it's just important for us to come together this weekend to start or to continue what we started in 2010. We continued to answer the need to bring together LGBT students at various stages in their career, and professionals and academics and employers in the STEM community for a weekend of sharing and diversity and mentoring and career learning opportunities. That's what this is about. So I thank all of you for being here. I'd like to reiterate Amy and TJ's thanks to Battelle and all of our sponsors and supporters for Out to Innovate 2012. Please make sure that you chat with everybody during these next 2 days, especially the vendors. They're not vendors, they're sponsors at their tables and at the career fair tomorrow. And finally, I'd like to have a round of applause for our speakers. They're trailblazers in the field of academics, healthcare, engineering, LGBT leadership, gender identity, and they personify what Out to Innovate is all about. So we're thrilled to have them here today, along with you. And so now, with no further ado, here are Amy and TJ to get things underway. So thanks so much. It's my dream too, Mary. Thanks.
Our kickoff session this morning features Kei Koizumi, the Assistant Director for Federal Research and Development at the White House Office of Science and Technology Policy, OSTP. Over the course of his term, President Obama has stressed the need for renewed commitment to progress in education and STEM education in particular. And I am confident that with people like Kei leading the charge, we will succeed. Prior to his position in the White House OSTP, Kei served on President Obama's transition team as part of the Technology, Innovation, and Government Reform Policy Working Group. Kei also served as the director of the R&D Budget and Policy Program at the American Association for the Advancement of Science. Kei received his BA in Political Science and Economics from Boston University and his MA from the Center for International Science, Technology, and Public Policy Program at George Washington University. And for Kei, coming to Columbus is coming home. He grew up here. Both of his parents served as faculty at The Ohio State University. Please join me in welcoming Kei Koizumi.
Good morning, everyone. Oh, good. That's pretty good. Thank you to the conference organizers and our hosts at The Ohio State University and the sponsors, and thank you for welcoming me here, but I guess it's my turn. Welcome, all of you, to my hometown of Columbus, Ohio. In fact, welcome to my neighborhood. I'd like to talk to you today about some journeys, the journeys each of you have made to get where you are today and about the journeys ahead. And I want to let you know that there are a lot of people ready to help you out on your journey to a fulfilling STEM career where you can be open and supported in who you are. And along the way, I'd like to share with you a story I don't often tell, my personal journey. Now, it's a little bit strange to talk about my personal journey because I just woke up in my old room, and Mom and Dad drove me here. In fact, the doctors Koizumi are here right now. They're over there, so say hi to them. There. But I do live in Washington, D.C. now, and I talk to people all the time there about science, technology, and innovation. But it's really a special honor to be able to talk to you about this in the place where I grew up. So I am at the White House Office of Science and Technology Policy, or OSTP. And I have the privilege of working for President Obama's Science and Technology Advisor, John Holdren, to do whatever we can through the federal government's policies, laws, and funding to ensure that U.S. science and engineering research and education remain strong and the best in the world. We know, and the President knows, that we can only meet the challenges the nation faces in the economy, the environment, health, and other areas if U.S. science and engineering are strong and if we have talented STEM students and workers. So I bring greetings from OSTP and our wholehearted support for this two-day Career Summit's goal to encourage everyone to consider and pursue STEM studies and careers. And by everyone, this conference is here to say, and we are here to say, that we mean lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgendered students also from every part of our society and from every part of this nation and also this nation of ours. So I've been at the White House for almost 4 years now, and here's what I see. Over the last few years, we've accomplished so much to move LGBT Americans closer to full equality. Don't Ask, Don't Tell was repealed a little more than a year ago. Our families and relationships are increasingly recognized by the federal government. The administration has put forward rules requiring hospitals and other healthcare providers to allow full visitation rights for partners and other family members of LGBT Americans. The government has expanded benefits for partners and families of federal employees in same-sex relationships. The Obama administration has stopped defending in court the Defense of Marriage Act that prevents the federal government from recognizing marriages of same-sex couples. The U.S. is working with state governments and local authorities to end housing discrimination based on sexual orientation and gender identity. The administration now supports passage of the Employment Non-Discrimination Act, which would protect American workers from employment discrimination based on sexual orientation and gender identity. The federal government has had non-discrimination language in its personnel policies for nearly 2 decades. Internationally, Secretary of State Clinton has stated that LGBT rights are human rights. So the U.S. is engaging with other nations and the international community in promoting and protecting the rights of LGBT persons around the world. The President has called for the repeal of the Defense of Marriage Act and has expressed his personal support for marriage equality. And that's actually one of those moments I probably will remember for the rest of my life because I remember where I was when I saw that video interview. I was at work and my husband Jeff was visiting me that day, so we turned on my computer and we saw it. And I think that loud scream you heard echoing through the White House was mine, and we nearly ran across the driveway to thank him personally, but then the Secret Service stopped us. Oh, by the way, that does mean that I'm gay, so I just came out. It is a different day for us, and we should all feel more supported in our journeys as LGBT Americans, even though much remains to be done. In science and technology, we've also made some great strides. The NIH will soon issue a research roadmap to guide federal research on LGBT health. This report will inform NIH and the biomedical research community about important areas in which we can learn more about which health conditions disproportionately affect us and how LGBT Americans access health care compared to other populations. In the social sciences, the Census Bureau and others are working to ensure fair and accurate counts of all Americans, including lesbian and gay couples, and to understand better how we live. Recently, the White House hosted the first ever LGBT Federal Career Fair at the White House. Students from all over the country were invited to learn about opportunities for public service with the federal government. And I was very happy and honored to be part of that STEM section to encourage LGBT students to consider public service STEM careers. And that, of course, is a topic that will be discussed at this conference also. And of course, we have this Out to Innovate conference. Let me say, it is amazing to me that Out to Innovate is taking place in Columbus. Thursday was National Coming Out Day, which reminded me that, I came out in 1985, and that was before National Coming Out Day. 1985 was when I was in high school, a few miles north of here. And that was before the web. That was before cell phones. That was before we could easily find other gay people in our community. Back then, I had to sneak out of the house to go to the student union to look for the gay student group. I just realized I've not told my parents this. But I was mortified that I actually ran into my father coming out of because his office was across the street, so we ran into each other at student union. Anyway. But I could not have imagined then that at Ohio State we would have a conference about being openly LGBT in STEM fields. Because this was before NOGLSTP, before I started finding my way as a gay man, and before I started moving towards science and technology policy. But here we are now, for so many of us. So let's talk a little bit about STEM. As I said, what we are talking about today is very important. That's why so many of us, including the federal government, are encouraging all American students to pursue STEM studies and STEM careers. We have a lot of work to do, and we have some fairly ambitious national goals. The president has set a goal of moving American kids from the middle of the pack to the top of international rankings in science and math tests, and increasing the American proportion of college graduates back to first in the world by 2020. To do that, we're making some investments. So the Race to the Top funding in the Recovery Act included preferences to states whose proposals emphasize math and science education and innovation in how those subjects are taught. Federal science agencies continue to increase investments in basic and applied research, even in tough budgetary times, because to win the future, we have to keep investing in the future of new knowledge and new technologies, which means investing, we hope, in your research, in your education in the sciences and engineering. And we're also building teams to support you. We know that STEM education is a venture that involves all of us working together. The federal and state governments, local school districts, families, teachers, companies, and of course, students to put in the hard work. That's why so much of what the federal government is doing these days is involving partnerships. In 2009, my office helped to launch the Educate to Innovate program for K through 12 STEM education, with more than $700 million in private sector and foundation support to bring together companies, universities, federal programs, and schools to improve STEM education. And I guess we did like the name, but I'm glad that other people liked the name too, and it inspired some creative repurposing of the Educate to Innovate brand. We are trying to do our part in Washington by revamping our federal education programs to improve learning in STEM subjects at the undergraduate level. And in the last few years, the government has expanded support to help more students afford college. We've tried to keep student loan interest rates low and ended subsidies on student loan providers to channel the savings toward improving college access so that we can help you go to college and then on to graduate school if you choose. Now, all of this is toward the goal of, if you are willing to work hard and study hard, we want to make it possible, working together for you to get an education and for you to use your skills to contribute. And it is going to be hard work. There's just no getting around that. Well, when I was a senior in high school, I had the chance to take an honors calculus course here at Ohio State. And I tell you, even now, it was the most difficult course that I've ever taken. But when I finally understood it, it was so rewarding, and it became the foundation of a lot of the classes I took in college and in grad school. Now, I know that many challenges remain in our journeys, especially for LGBT students. Too many of us still grow up isolated and bullied because of our disclosed or perceived sexual orientation. I'm lucky. I wasn't really bullied or teased because people thought I was gay. By the way, people did think I was gay, even before I started putting this earring in. When I came out in high school, to my high school, my entire high school, because word got around pretty quickly, I got through it all right. But the isolation was still difficult. Because I was out, but I still thought I was the only gay teenager in Columbus. So, you know, I had to sneak out of the house again in June 1985 to see the Columbus Pride Parade. And that ended up being really important to me because I finally saw hundreds of my fellow gays right here in my hometown, even a few gay teens. And I just remember that I have not told Mom and Dad this either. So, but that's all right. I think that's all right because since then, Mom has probably marched in this parade more than I have as a PFLAG mom. Right? Okay. Anyway, as I got to know other gay and lesbian teens at the parade and at Ohio State, I did discover that I wasn't the only one in Columbus, but I also learned that not everyone has a relatively smooth coming out experience. So we all need to make it easier to grow up gay, lesbian, bi, or trans, and to come out as who you are. It's so incredible to me that bullying prevention and suicide prevention are important parts of the Obama administration. In March of last year, the President, the First Lady, and other partners welcomed students, parents, and teachers, in addition to advocates, to the White House for a conference on bullying prevention. And the President himself appeared in a video, which you can find on the White House website, for the It Gets Better campaign, specifically trying to end bullying of LGBT young people. By the way, I'm in that video too, so check it out. I give a shout out to Ohio in that video. That's my one and only appearance with the President in a video so far. Now, I know that challenges remain, and it's not just about bullying or the confidence to be who you are. Our challenges are less visible and therefore sometimes more difficult to find policy solutions than other minority groups. Now, I know this from two angles. I know that Asian Americans are well represented in the sciences, but there's still obstacles in advancement and in maintaining career tracks. These issues are a little bit different. Asians start out overrepresented, but we lose people disproportionately. We have the data to show it at every stage of career paths. It actually starts early in high school. You know, you're Asian, of course you're good at math and science. And that begins the process of undervaluing our achievements in STEM. For LGBT Americans, we have a sense that we are well represented, but the challenges are in being out, being encouraged to pursue STEM careers by our families, our advisors, our fellow students, and dealing with homophobia as we progress. The thing is, we don't have answers, and we've just begun to identify the problems, and we don't have good data. But we do have us, and we have our allies, so that is a great start. So all of us here have to find our own paths in life. Whether you're a student, a postdoc, a mid-career professional, or heading toward retirement, there are so many choices to make, so many opportunities to seize. And at times, it won't be easy. There's no formula for how to bring together math and science, your personal dreams, and being out and proud at school, at work, and at home. Each one of us, we have to find our own ways to make that journey. But I hope I've been able to tell you today that you've got a lot of people on your side. All the people here, our friends and allies, our parents, and maybe even the government of the United States. And all of these institutions and companies are here today. They should let you know that yes, they need you, and they need you for who you are. You can be out and innovative. You can be an openly lesbian, gay, bisexual, or transgendered scientist, engineer, innovator, teacher, policymaker, or technologist right here in your community or somewhere else. There are so many more opportunities now, and the road is a lot easier than when I was coming out in Columbus in 1985. This reminds me actually that the last time I was in this room was in October of 1986, and this was for a debate for the governor's election. And I don't remember much about that debate, but I do remember that one of the candidates made it an important part of his platform to save Ohio from the danger of having gay school teachers. Well, he lost, thank God. But still, it was a very different environment, and I can say that I much prefer this edition of the room here 26 years later. My own path led me away from Ohio, but when I walk to work and go through the gates of the White House, I think it's not that bad of a place to wander to. And I may have wandered from math and science to social sciences to policy, but I've come back to science and technology policy, and I ended up being elected a fellow of the American Association for the Advancement of Science. Which one is that? That's this one. Along with several of the scientists who are here today. And my own path as a gay man, well, I was a closeted Midwestern teenager growing up in the 80s, right here. And I don't think I could have imagined how far I and the rest of the LGBT community would come in a few decades. I mean, I'm married now. If there's any motivation that I can provide in this motivational speech, it's this. You can combine all of these parts of you. You can combine, well, this, and this, and this, and this, and maybe even this. And it all starts to make sense after a while. Because last year, I introduced my husband, Jeff, to my boss, President Obama's science advisor. And that is actually a pretty wonderful thing to be able to say. So that's my story, my journey, and I bring this to you because what I started out saying is true. Now more than ever, STEM education and STEM careers are essential to our nation's future. We need all of our talent, and we can't afford to leave behind talented scientists and engineers because of their sexual orientation or their gender identity. That's why it's so important that we're all here today to support each other, to learn from each other about our own journeys, and to overcome the barriers together. Because you can be out and innovative. So let's unlock our own journeys here, and good luck to all of you, and let's get to it now. Thank you very much. All right. Thanks. All right. Oh, thank you. Thanks. Thank you. Thank you. All right.